Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Chris and welcome to the round 12 podcast, or team update I should say, the Brigadonis podcast, the biggest podcast of the year. Shout out to everyone and for watching us, and we do apologise. We didn't get the normal podcast out last week. Look, I want to say that I was ready and waiting to be able to do podcasts all week last week, and we got delayed, and I was sitting here, I think it was like Thursday night potentially. Swizz is like, yeah, okay, I've got to go out for dinner, but I'll do it when I get home. And then Ben got sick, and I think he's like after dinner, and he texted me at like 9 o'clock, being like, after we're supposed to meet up at like 8:30. He's like, at 9 o'clock, he's like, I'm still at dinner, I don't know what time I'll be back. At like 10:30, he messages me, he's like, yeah, we're good to go. I'm like, dude, I got to get up at 5 a.m. to go to gym. I don't have time for this. So I ended up going to bed. So I do apologize. But we'll get this one out to you. We do plan on recording the normal podcast again tomorrow night. So we'll be back on your sweet airwaves and video tomorrow. So I do apologise for that for everyone. But also shout out to our sponsors, splashvodka.com.au. And of course, little one today, I picked up this gear. You might see the over here, Dr. Supercoach logo. So I picked up some gear. This isn't sponsored or anything like that. I paid for it. Just repping the other guys that in the community that have really driven me and given me a lot to work with over my years. And if you do head to drsupercoach.com.au, they've got some really awesome gear there that you can check out. There's even some classic Cheezo sunnies, which I actually found hilarious. I was almost going to buy them just as a joke. I do have a hat on the way as well. But yeah, it's very cool on the back, and I will show you at a later date. Maybe I'll post it online on Twitter or something like that. But yeah, I really do enjoy the graffiti style writing on the logo. It's really awesome. Anyway, so how did we go this week? We scored 1,920 points, a little bit unders on what my projected was. At one stage, I was projected to be almost 2,000, but I had a few things go awry this week. But let's first go. The good news is that score did propel me to a little bit of a rank rise, went up 61 places to 601. So on the charge to 100, which is ultimately my goal here, I believe. I'm pretty confident that's what I want to try and target, a top 100 finish if I can. If not, top 1,000 I'll be satisfied with. But we'll see how we go. Now, what changes did we make this week? Well, we made some pretty big ones. We decided to really try and step up the aggressiveness of our trades and made some bold moves. So in the last podcast, you would have seen that I think I went pretty light in regards to what my trade plan was, and I was going to bring in Laird. Or did I not bring in Laird? No, I think I was bringing Darcy Cameron last week. So I was bringing in Darcy Cameron, and I wasn't trading in Briggs or Wardlaw. I was just going to bring in Ford and Darcy Cameron and save my trades and leave it there. Well, something got the better of me. I don't know what it was. I had a look into things. The benefit to me with Briggs is that obviously with Gawn and Marshall, I do have the opportunity to be able to achieve 2 scores out of him instead of 1. So this week, obviously, he got his score, but then I also get him for subsequent weeks in round 14. I can also use his score. So for me, it was a cash grab, but also looking into the following week. So once Thursday rolled around, and there really wasn't any rookies that were going to be decently on the bubble in round 14, outside of, I think, Mullen, I think is the only one, or Mullen, or however you pronounce his name. There's no real other rookies, and even then, like, he might even be dropped by then. Like, there's no guarantee that he'll get a game. So started panicking with not being able to have a rookie to be able to downgrade to. So I was like, okay, well, I need to be able to generate some cash now. So I went day out. So an aggressive move was trading day out with his 116 break even, and just going, look, if I'm going to trade him anyway, and I'm literally hanging on this last week of hopefully a performance so that I can hold on to him, like give myself a reason a whole day. And if I've just committed I'm going to trade him, then just trade him. because the likelihood is, based on the 5 weeks that I've owned him for, that he's not going to be able to get 116. He's going to drop cash, and then I'm going to be left holding the bag. Knocked out another 74, so it actually looked good. But on the day, I think in the first 10 minutes, he was on like 18 or something like that. First 5 minutes, maybe even. And then just completely died, and then ended up playing half back. So, I think trading day was probably the right choice. Trading day down to Briggs, popping him and getting his score on field really ended up helping me, of course. But from the back line, so Stewart was very good, obviously. Dacos VC, I did end up taking his VC, so I was going to roll it with Laird, and then because I had a few drinks, I was like, I'm going to roll it with Laird, and ended up just actually taking Dunkley. And what was funny is that I thought I took Laird, and then I looked back later, I was like, in my drunken state, I must have just done it. So that was all right. Dawson, another game where his DTSC ratio was bad. Starting to be a habit and really starting to annoy me. Weddle keeps weddling on. He'll be 340 next week when we trade him out, which is just an amazing. So he's made 210k. Can't complain for that. Chincotta with a 61 ended up playing on field for me, so that was good. It was good to get him named. That 61 really did help by 2 points, I think. I think Zeebel's the one that came out for me. Bontempelli, again, he copped a hyperextended knee, I want to say. So it was a little bit unders on what you would expect from him. Merritt was definitely unders. He was on 83 at quarter time and then finished on 137. So, to only score 54 points over the 3 quarters of footy after he obviously got tagged from the quarter time. That was a bit unfortunate, but they came away with the win, so that's a good thing. Laird, surprisingly, really, this is a good score for Laird. He only had 22 disposals and managed to get 112. That's amazing. I was pretty impressed with overall Laird there. Raul, 101. Okay, nothing. He's either going to. What I've noticed with Raul is that he either goes big or he goes soft tunish. Happy with the soft ton in this sort of situation. Green again with the DTSC. Oh my gosh, this guy knows how to find the ball, but can you please start using it? And speaking of people who know how to find the ball but can't use it, Sam Walsh. And this time I think he only even got 22 disposals or something like that. So he didn't even get a lot of the ball. Oh, what a trading that was. So I've left a few points on the table here because, Walsh, if that's 120, there's another 50 points. In a unique situation. Same as Rao, if he goes 120, these are points that I gain on the 1%. So those are the guys I really need to fire. And Wines, of course. But Wines, again, with Boak out, played only 54% CBAs this week. So around about the same as last week. So I'm hoping... So he's got back-to-back 95s playing a hybrid wing on-ball role. I'm hoping Boak comes back because he was listed as a test last week and just didn't come up. If he can get up this week. A large part of it was obviously... I think they played the early game last week on the Saturday, didn't they? I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong there. But maybe it was just because the game was just a bit too early and they needed a bit more time. Maybe an extra day, maybe an extra 2. But I'm hoping Boak will be back. Gorn, at halftime I was trading him. And I still might. I don't know. It's like this week his role went again the other direction. So he was trending upwards in terms of his ruck hitouts and then this ruck contest. And then this week it went back to 48%. Which is around about 50% with Grundy. And I was just like, no, I want to get out of this. He just got lucky in a bit of a burst patch. And Gorn can do this, where he just has this burst. But I do look at his fixture and I go, look, maybe I should keep him. I mean, if you look at Gorn's fixture, this week he's got Darcy Cameron, of course. Then Geelong's Ruck, whoever that is on the day. So he should towel them up. Then GWS, who are running Briggs, but... And Briggs was toweling up Nank on the weekend, so who knows what's going to happen there. But then Saints, so Marshall has obviously got a lot of height on that. Big O, Riley O'Brien, and then Nank, Goldie before Carlton, which is a hard one, and then Hawks and Sydney to finish off the year. So his ruck run's pretty decent. It's just what Gorn are we getting here? Because I think he's personally out of form. I don't think the role is actually that much of an issue. I think it's more Gorn is super out of form. He's dropping marks he should be hitting. They don't seem to be playing through him as much. I've noticed a lot of the time he's wide open for a handball receive or for a kick, like a short kick or whatever, and they're not using Gawn at all. And the only time he's able to get his hands on the ball is either in a contested situation around the ground in the ruck or from a contested mark. They just don't use him in open play, and I think it's really impacting his scoring. And I'm not sure if that's, maybe it's only because I've really started paying attention this year to his lack of scoring that is a thing. But so many times the other night I remember he was in the forward line, and he just got completely. He could have got a handball receive and a snap on goal. Yes, he was in the pocket, but yeah, they didn't end up having a shot because they just completely flagged him, and yeah, super frustrating as an owner. Briggs, unbelievable. 2 goals from stoppages. One that obviously was a go-ahead goal. I think he actually went right up to 135, and then they took 7 points of scaling off him, probably because they need to add it to Pickett, I guess, for kicking the winning goal. But it looked like that was going to be the winning goal, and then Richmond ran over the top late. But he's just a freaking monster. He's absolutely monstering Nank in the contest. His hitouts are very, very good. His hitouts to advantage are very, very good. He tackles well. He collects the pill. He actually got that score. That was his highest score, but I do believe that was his lowest possession mark for the season so far. So his 3rd game, and he only had 11 disposals this week. Last week, so this is what's like, he's going to put together a big week, and I'm talking like a 150 week. So last week he had 17 disposals, 5 tackles, 34 hitouts, and 1 goal, and he only got 102 Supercoach. It was actually a negative scaling, negative DTSE ratio. And the week before that, I think was even a smidge higher. So against St Kilda, where he had Marshall, he had 109, and he had 16 disposals, 4 marks, 3 frees against, 3 tackles, 22 hitouts for 109. So the guy can score. The guy's got the ability to really, really score. If you have a look at his VFL numbers, I think he's averaging something like 135, 140 in the VFL this year. He's absolutely killing it, and he's come of age. Something that's been overlooked, that if you are a long-time listener of the podcast, is I have been on Briggs for fucking yonks. And I do apologise for swearing sometimes. But I've been on him since, I think, his draft year, or maybe even the year after that. I was really, really high on him. And when Mumford went down and they were like, oh, who's going to get the role? I was saying Briggs is the best ruck that they have on their list. And then Matt Flitt came in and they traded for Proofs, and then they sort of battled it out for a year. And now Briggs has actually come on, and he's the preferred option. He was All-Australian in his year. He was the number 1 ruck in his draft year, even at his pick. So the guy's got a lot of scope to be an absolutely damaging ruckman, and I do believe that he's taking his time to come on, and I think now is the time. So good on you if you did grab him. Can you trade to him now? It depends on what you're trading to him for. Are you trading to him because you didn't trade Darcy last week and you need a replacement in the ruck and you got an on-field scorer? Great. Are you trading, say, a Marshall down to him? Are you trading a English down to him? Absolutely not. You're not doing that. But if you do have a bit part ruck, or you've got a Gawn, potentially, maybe you could go to Briggs and bank some cash. I don't hate that idea. Taranto was, again, good. Pretty consistent. He's been a very consistent year, Taranto. Rosé, unders. He just didn't get the ball when they were absolutely running over the top of everyone, and then played a very good game after quarter time. After quarter time, he was potentially best on ground, but the game was over. So he didn't get much scaling, didn't get much impact. And so therefore, only a 98 there on his average. Zeeble, what do I say about Zeeble? I watched this game, and I've been a big, big fan of Zeeble for a long, long time. He had his season low in kickouts. He only had 2 kickouts for the game, season low. He had 24 points at quarter time from 4 disposals. Now, that would have been from intercept possessions, but he didn't take it. He only took 1 mark for that quarter. So that means that he basically scored 35 points in 3 quarters of football. Is it Hall? Is it the coach? Is it the new coaching? Is it a combination of the two? It's probably a bit of everything. Is it his injury? He obviously was a little bit unders recently. I think it's plantar fasciitis, whatever it might be. He looked slow. He looked plodding. He wasn't chasing very well. Maybe it's short term, but I see Zeeble losing a lot of cash, not scoring very well. The one thing that might save him, and this is why you would probably hold, is he does have a couple of good matchups. So GWS this week, and then Bulldogs the following week. And we know what Bulldogs just gave up 138 versus Stewart, and then they continue to give up points to intercepting defenders. So the Dogs is actually a very good matchup for him, if that's the role that he even gets. So he's got, GWS, then Dogs, Adelaide on the other side, and then Geelong. I don't know. You're holding him to his buy. You're flipping him now. If you're flipping him at his buy, you're flipping him now. Because his break-even's too much. He's going to drop too much cash. So he's already dropped 50k this week. Do you just get rid of him, cut your losses and go? Take the 517k. Thank you for your 170k donation to the club. See you later. It's an option. But we also have other bad things. Day's still not performing. Sheasel's still not performing. So Sheasel's got a new role. Playing mid forward. In fact, let's have a look at Sheasel's heat map. Wonder if this comes up on the potty that you can see. Yeah, so Daily Sports, dfsaustralia.com. I just want to have a look at his heat map. All right. So yeah, a bit concerned with these guys. And look, part of the reason why you're looking at trading out, especially Jay-Z and Sheasel, is that they have the round 15 buy, and a lot of people are looking at transitioning into other players to be able to help them moving forward. All right, so that's the main reason, outside of the fact that they're really underperforming. Okay, so looking at Harry Sheasel, because I did see him a little bit behind the ball, but then he went forward again. It's freaking annoying is what it is. Now, just so you know as well, on the AFL website, you can actually view these maps quarter by quarter instead of viewing them as a whole. But let's have a look at his heat map. Yeah, so mostly midfield and a bit forward with some stints behind the ball. It's not great, is it? Not great for scoring, considering he's averaging 33 touches or whatever it is behind the ball. I wonder what his split is in terms of time. Time in defensive half versus time mid forward. I mean, the split here isn't amazing. So green is defense, blue is midfield, defensive midfield. So like midfield and a little bit behind. Yellow is obviously midfield forward. So that means it. If you're looking at that, 60% of his time is around the midfield, and look at the percentages compared to other weeks. So these three, he actually had more time in defence this week than he has the last three. And scores wise, he had this is a bit of a spike game, this 112 that he got, because he kicked 2 goals. So he got his 110 on the back of 2 goals, 2. And the other scores that he's played in this role, the other 3 are 68, 79, 72. Huge red flags. Huge red flags. Not happy with that at all. Don't like it. Don't love it. I think if you had the trades, you're trading them all out. I might just do that. Forward a bit disappointing. It seemed like he played much more forward and less wing this week. So we'll have to see what he scores next week, but his break-evens, obviously still pretty good this week and worth holding, of course. But he has, he's done his job. I think he's going to make close to 130, 140k very, very quickly. What's he got? Negative 17 break-even, predictor 56. So that takes him up to about 32k on top of that. Let's say 228. And what's his cash gen looking like? Yeah, so get roughly up to 240 by his buy with a 56 and a 51. So even poor scoring should see him get to a point where you can easily trade him out at his buy. And that will be obviously what everyone's pretty much doing. David didn't play, obviously, but there is a rumour now. So I think one of their small forwards at Essendon was down, so he might get a gig this week. Not that I need him to play, but it'd be good for him to have another opportunity in the game. All right, so what are we doing this week? So I had a plan last week, and I think I may have even talked you through it, or I definitely wrote it down. Part of my plan last week and why I bought Data Briggs is that I could bank this. I could, instead of getting in DCAM, I could go up to Laird. And I wanted to get on Laird because Laird had a break even of 88. And I thought that it could be a game where he could go 130, 140 and completely price me out. And I didn't want to take that risk of not being able to have Laird in my final team. Whereas DCAM, even though he obviously had potential to score high with his game against West Coast, had a fairly high break even. So I could take the risk knowing that even if he does go big, he won't go up in cash and I won't be priced out of picking him up. That was the point. Fast forward to this week, and we've got a couple of things. So first and foremost, I managed to obviously bank the extra money from transferring Day, 90k there in the bank. And without having rookies on the field, my plan was, okay, I'm just going to go Sheasel out. So last week, the plan was, okay, just trade Sheasel out. I've got 90k. What can I get up to? Now, my initial plan was if Sheasel went 90, I worked out like 90, 95 or something like that. He would have made enough money that I would have been able to trade him straight up to Neil. That was my initial plan. So I was like, oh, please, Sheasel, get a 90, get a 90. Nah, absolutely not. Definitely getting traded. But now with 554, it sort of makes it super awkward for a price point. And then I got to look at my team and work out where I have gaps. All right. So let's put everyone in, before I do this trade, let's put everyone in their place and work out where my gaps are. So Sicily obviously is coming back this week, which is good. And then Sinclair as well. And let's put him on field for Singotta for now. Goulden's obviously a forward. Let's put him down here. And I think Dunkley's in my midfield too. Yep, there we go. All right. And I can do that. So right now I've got... Oop. Here we go. It doesn't really matter there, I guess. Marshall on, Briggs off. Okay, so right now you would say that I have 6 forward premiums if you were to count these Zeeble and Sheasel as premiums. Marshall and Gawn, two ruck premiums. Again, would you count Gawn as a premium? Maybe, maybe not. And then 7 mid premiums. Is Wines a premium? Maybe, maybe not. And then 5 rookies. So I've essentially got five defenders. So I've essentially got 20 premiums with 2 upgrades coming, but with cash ready to go for those upgrades, right? So I've got Briggs here. He's going to be roughly 400k. Weddle, he'll be traded out at 340k. There's 740k. So there's 1 premium upgrade. And then you've got Johnson here. You've got Chincotta here. Ford obviously in his cash. So there is cash enough to get to those 2 extra premiums if that's all I wanted to do. However, I want to do things a bit crazy. I don't necessarily think it's even that crazy, but I think there's a better way to do things. I do think that now Jay-Z and Sheasel both aren't premiums. Okay? I also might consider Gawn not a premium. And if I'm considering Briggs a premium, then why wouldn't I trade out Gawn, who's got I think his break-even's not bad, Gawn, but he's obviously an elevated price. He's up to that sort of 495k bracket. Yeah. Break even. I can't see it. 88. Yeah, so I mean, it's probable that he goes up slightly, but he's going to hover around this 500k price pretty much unless he gets a spike game, and who knows when that's going to come. Briggs on the other hand is obviously going up, so I don't want to trade him out. I'm not going to be trading him, but is Briggs good enough to be an R2? Is he? What's his 3-round average? 111, 113. Is this a Rob instance? I say Rob as in A couple of years ago, we all had Riley O'Brien on the bench, averaging more than our R2, and couldn't get him off. I think he ended up being like 550k at one point. And a lot of people, just took the punt and went, I'm just going to trade out whoever their R2 was and just run with Rob. Others didn't and then cashed him out at an appropriate time. So is Briggs a premium? Is Briggs going to be able to average 110 for the rest of the season? Is that better than Gawn, who's averaging in my team, I think, roughly 95, 100, maybe a bit more than that? Actually, definitely more than that, because if you add 10 points to his average here, I think his average is about 102, 103 due to the fact that he had a game on 0. So I think his true average is around about 100. So is Briggs 110 averaging Ruck? Is he more than that? I don't know. It's an early tell, but all the signs, and if you have watched him, you might agree with me that he's actually really, really damn good. So yeah, thinking about this, let's look at other things. All right. So if I'm trading Sheasel out, which is what the original plan was, there are no available decent forwards that have the round 12 or round 12 bye. So I'll show you what I mean. So trading him out, and obviously, don't have any forwards in my midfield. Yeah, I was supposed to. The plan was initially get Walsh or Gawn forward, and then I wouldn't have to worry about this shit. Now I do. All right. So if I'm looking at, there's already forwards there. Don't need to worry about that filter because I'm trading out a forward for a forward. Let's have a look at averages. Let's actually go. Have a look down here. All right. So Butters, round 15 bye, can't get him. McRae, round 15 bye, can't get him. Caleb Daniel, round 15 bye, can't get him. Jeremy Cameron has the bye this week, can't get him. Stephen Killingo has the round 15 bye, can't get him. Darcy Cameron, I could potentially go there. I think my team might be okay with that. I can definitely, I think I can trade in around 14 and be okay. So Darcy Cameron's obviously still on the radar, but he has Gawn and Grundy this week. So is it worth saving him until after the bye? Probably. I think regardless, I need ruck cover. So Darcy Cameron will come in. Whether that's this week or next is an option. And now you're getting into the 95 average territory. So I'm kind of not interested. There is a couple of other ones that I'll look at. Now, interestingly, I think it was Connor Iden from the GWS Giants. He went forward this week and they switched Himmelberg behind the ball. Himmelberg goes 103. We've seen this before, have we? 369k. He had kickouts. Let's bring him up on DFS and have a look. Himmelberg. I'll have a look at his heat map, his kick-ins. So obviously I did watch this game and I was like, of course he is. Here we go. Game. Kick-ins. Where are we? 5 kick-ins. Fucking hell. 5 kick-ins. Heat map says he didn't play an absolute second forward. He played either defense or high defense. Heat map. Fuck. Yep. So that's a bit of wing, is it? Played a bit of wing and halfback, or interesting. So can we rely on him to do it all season? I don't know. I was hot on him early. It's 370. It's like if he's going to play this role for the rest of the season, it's an absolute steal. The problem is, can I rely on that? I do like the fact that he's defender forward. I don't know. Maybe we need another week of data. What's his break even? 78. So if he goes like 100-ish again, he will go up, say 10, 15k. All right. That's not a break in case of, that's a break in case of emergency, maybe next week. But he does have North this week. All right. And look at his hype against them last year when he was behind the ball, 187. Wow, cooked them. Oh, that's rough scenes. Hawks, Freo, Melbourne, Hawthorn, Adelaide. Wow, that's a good run. Himmelberg, eh? So here's an option. He's better than the other options. Oh, he unfortunately round 15 bye. That's the problem. So can't look there now. Might look at him later if I'm sidewaysing someone in round 16. And hopefully hasn't gone up too much. But at least then, what's that, round 16? Let's say he goes up 50, 60K in that time, which he might even go up more. But let's say he goes up that amount. You can comfortably say with 3-4 game sample size that, potentially the role's sticking. I'd like to say the same about this other guy, except I can't. Ben Keays. So what do we know about Ben Keays? Well, a lot. He's gone back-to-back tons. His role has completely shifted. He's the same price as Himmelberg, with a much lower break-even of 7. He has the round 14 buy instead of the round 15 buy. You can see these two spike scores here. His last 2 seasons, he's gone 103 and 99 playing in the midfield. And if you look at his log, I think Keays is an absolute no-brainer this week. There's also a quote from his coach after the first week he moved back into the midfield saying, yeah, we've decided we want to get him into the midfield a lot more. There's actually a quote from his coach saying that, which is amazing because obviously he backed it up with another week of the midfield. So look at the game logs here. This week and last week, 70% CBAs, 75% CBAs. Look at his heat maps. Yep, midfield, forward, back as well, all over the ground, getting plenty of it, running with the best player. He's the guy that complements Dawson and Laird in there so they can go and do whatever they want, while he obviously is a more accountable two-way midfielder. Time on ground is shot right up. He's up to 80, high 80s in terms of time on ground. So he rests forward when he's instead of going to the bench, which is obviously ideal as well. But what we really want to look at is last season as well. So if you take a look, so see all these forward games, all this forward red, even back to 2022, all of this red, right? And then you get back to just before here. And then he's scoring. Look at the scoring here when he moved forward, right? Look at the scoring from here. So went forward, 111, he had a 61 here, 102, 124, 113, 68, 117, 114, 90. Like he's a bona fide option. 106, 100, 103, 129, 106. You can't tell me that Ben Keays is an option in midfield. 110, 130. Look at these scores. They just keep going. 149, 128, 173. Fuck me. Who was that against Melbourne with 29 disposals? Fuck. You can't tell me that Ben Keays is not an option. I don't care who you are. Break even a 7, 2 back-to-back tons, massive role change. Coach saying is a role change. Don't get him at your own risk. He's a forward mid. This is the Himmelberg pick from last year, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, Himmelberg could be also the new Himmelberg. But this is the Himmelberg pick. This is the one. I think that having him is going to be a game changer. I'm not sure how many people are on him, but he's in 1.2% of teams, and I believe that's probably a lot of that is from this week already. So popping him in, he's lost 179,000 on his starting price. He's only gone up 18K this week, so you get that second week of info. I think he's a no-brainer. All right. So there's the first one. Let's just book that away. All right. We've booked a bit of a win from there. Now, 187K. So that's my downgrade, essentially. I don't have a rookie. I've just essentially gone Sheasel to Keays, which I think is a potential upgrade on this position on points. But I get to gain some cash. Now I have 185K to spend. So I've got a few options. Is Zeeble going? Probably. Do I want to upgrade this week instead and get another upgrade on field? So, am I looking at maybe upgrading, say, Chincotta or Weddle or something like that? Jumping early on a Weddle. I could potentially do that if I really wanted to. I think for me, I didn't like what I saw out of Jay-Z, and I think he's gone. Now, who do I bring in? So another forward. So do I bring in Himmelberg? Do the double? I don't know if I could do that. Nah, I'm not going to do that. And especially when I now need to bring in a player that's got the round 12. Now, the problem is there's, again, no forwards, right? So I'm looking to bring in a defender instead. Now, how do I do that? So I've got to go, I'm going to move Roberts forward and then get Constable into this midfield with DPP and then get into defender. So I've got 700k to spend on a defender. All right. Eventually this will load, surely. There we go. All right. So I could basically get any defender I want. I need to get a defender. And I think I don't like, again, so round 15 guys out. So there goes Caleb Daniel out of the equation. Houston out of the equation. Lloyd versus Ryan is an interesting one. Obviously not Rampy. Doherty, can't get him round 15. And then we're down to the other guys. Redmond is interesting, except 72 this week, so not a fantastic score. Darcy Moore back to 79. I think Darcy will go down continually as long as and Jeremy Howe's due back after the bye as well, and he's the preferred intercepting defender, I should say. I really don't like too many of these picks. Hayden Young has been well of late, but do I really want to go down that pathway again? I'm not sure. Bailey Dale's interesting. So 116 and 113 last two games, but again, round 15 bye, so can't bring him in. Obviously just got out of Will Day, so I'm not bringing him in. Ridley's gone back to back tons, but I don't like his role when something goes wrong. So look, I think it is between Lloyd and Ryan. And if I'm looking at the two, here's the thing with Ryan. Fremantle started winning because they stopped playing this stupid chip around the back thing that was just sending his scores to the moon. And now look at his scores over the last however many weeks. So here we go. So last 3 weeks, 85, 84, 91. And even before that, 109. So he was going massive. 171, 122, 105, 111, 93, 120, 127, 109. And then 3 sub 100 scores with a 3-round average of, what's his 3-round average? 86. Not good enough. 5-round average, 99. Yeah, don't know if I want to do that. Not with Luke Ryan, guy that I obviously owned last year. I know how frustrating it can be to own Luke Ryan. I don't want to go back to that well. There's definitely a resurgence in Jake Lloyd scoring this season. And I don't mind what I'm seeing with Lloydie as a D6 option. So very consistent scores. 100, 102, 93, 120, 119, 77, 106, 110. 90, lowest score against North somehow, 72, and then a 139 versus Carlton. So he has a low break even as well, which is low break even of 91. And the reason why I really like Lloyd is this matchup here, St Kilda. So previous high score of 148, but we've seen other teams just absolutely go massive on Saints from a defensive perspective in terms of scoring. And so for me, Lloyd is the one that I want in if I'm getting in a defender. And this defender is obviously going to be able to cover the rest of the buys as well. So Jake Lloyd is in my team. All right, let's complete that trade. We'll get here eventually. Now, I've also got some decisions to make. Now, I don't necessarily need to make this decision this week. But I think, first and foremost, that decision's made. I think Jay-Z and Zeeble out, Keays and Lloyd in, and then I've still got 184k to make a trade. Now, ideally, I want Lachie Neale. Now, I've got two things like going through my head here. Do I consider Briggs a premium, trade out Gawn, and get Clary? Is that what I do? Now, of course, Clary has around 14 buy as well. Do I not do that? Do I bring in Neil instead? Do I go Gawn to Neil? Do I go Gawn to Neil, leave myself with a little bit of cash, potentially upgrade Wines to Oliver in round 15? Yeah, there's some weird things going on. Yeah, Oliver has a high break even. I think it's 139 off the top of my head. He's playing Collingwood, who have been very, very good. However, they gave up some big points to some mids last week, including Elliot Yeo. Do my buys allow that? Probably not, especially with bringing in Keays. So I'm adding one to that buy. If I was to add another one to that buy, I don't think that's going to work. Yeah. I think ultimately my best play in terms of points is getting Neil because he covers me for the back two buys. And then potentially upgrading Wines late. I mean, the other option is obviously keeping Gawn and trading out Wines. So I go Wines up to Neil. I just don't think that that's a benefit. I want to see what Wines is able to do with Boak back in the team and getting majority CBAs again. Because I think that he can be a 110 averaging mid. Now, I don't necessarily need to do this trade this week, but I think that I want Neil this week. If you have a look at... I'll bring Neil in and I'll show you why. So in this situation, this is what I'm looking at. I am saying to myself, Briggs is a premium ruck, or at very least, he's going to be able to rival what I'm getting out of Gawn, which is basically a flat 100 average, right? So if I can get a flat 100 average out of Briggs, I may as well keep him and trade out Gawn while he's 500k. Then I don't have to wait for Briggs to increase in value, and I can just get rid of Gawn. Now, if I go to grab in Neil, I'll just show you. Now, of course, there are other options, and we would be remiss to talk about those two, but those two are Petrarca and Oliver. I'm not sure if I want Petrarca and Oliver. I'd be jumping on Petrarca at peak price. I definitely want Oliver. Like Petrarca, if I bring him in, I don't think that's a good... That's not a way to spend the money that I have, especially when I'm going to be going down in trades. I'm already looking at, I'll have 5 trades at the end of this and have done no upgrades. Well, technically, that's not true. That's not true. I'll tell you why. Sarong I like. Do I like Sarong more than Neil? Probably not. Can't get in Brayshaw. I can't get in Libba with buy, obviously. Can go Brayshaw. They're about the same price, I think. I think Brayshaw might be slightly more expensive. Look, Neil's run is just stupid from here on in. And we always flag this. Me and Ben were pretty big on bringing him in after the bye. So this week, Hawks. Now, here's the thing. He doesn't get tagged this week. Nash is going head-to-head with Dunkley for sure. I can almost guarantee that. And so I think Neil just has an absolute day out this week. Sydney the following week. St Kilda after that. Richmond, West Coast. Melbourne have been giving up points to mids all year. Geelong aren't the Geelong of old. Then Gold Coast, Freo, Adelaide on the run home, and then another St Kilda. Like he's just got, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more games at the Gabba, and 2 games at Marvel. Sorry, Gabba. Yes, at the Gabba. 1 game at the Gold Coast, so home, not really home. So of their remaining fixtures, he has 7 games in the home state and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. 2 of those being at Marvel, 2 at the MCG, and 1 at Optus. So he doesn't play Adelaide Oval for the rest of the season. Yeah, it's not a bad fixture. That's a dumb. Yeah, this is the time to get in Lachie Neale if you want to get him. So I think that Lachie Neale is a no-brainer. He can obviously cover the buys, strengthens my midfield, allows me to have a little bit of cash. I mean, I could go all the way down to Steele. I mean, here's the other option. So if you're looking at, say, someone like Steele, Jack Steele. Now, obviously, he's got a pretty high break even, but he's down at 520k. It gives me another 57k, and then I would be able to upgrade Wines. Like, I'd guarantee that, pretty much. So there's an option. Come on. And from memory, I think Saints runs pretty good, but obviously... Come on. Website sometimes just doesn't love me. Come on. Here we go. All right, so Sydney this week. So pretty good. Then Richmond, Brisbane, West Coast, Melbourne, Gold Coast, North. Wow, that's a run. Maybe it's Steel. Hey? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. I think that, do I go Steel and then leave an option to go Wines to Clary in round 15? Is that the way? Is that the way forward? Or do I go Neil and bite the bullet? Interesting. Now, I could obviously still get Oliver from Wines in round 15. However, I would then have to trade someone, like make an extra trade to probably get more cash. That is the problem. So look, I'll put Neil in here for now. And as you can see, I'm left with about 100k. So, estimating that Wines goes up to about 500k over the next couple of weeks. That means that I can upgrade him to someone around 600k. And I just don't know if I don't think Oliver drops that much. I think maybe he drops 10, 15, 20k maybe at the most. So that will be interesting to see. But let's pop this in and then we'll talk about vice captain. This has probably been a very long podcast. I think it's mainly because I've been going through, what my trade plans are this week, etc. And live with you guys and talking it out with you guys, as opposed to having it all sorted in my head and then going from there. Obviously, I'll be fielding 22 like quite easily. I'll probably loop one of Weddle and Chincotta on field. If Sharp gets named, I'll loop him with Johnson, for example. See what we do. Briggs obviously comes on. And Ford on for Roberts. And then, there we go. All right. So, projected 2,165 in the way it is right now. Now, who are my vice captains and captains? I think of the obvious vice captain is the Friday night game, and it's Marshall against Sydney. Sydney's rucks have been absolutely deplorable. And I'll just bring up quickly this week's score. Sydney. Oh, wait, no, last week's score. So Sydney played Carlton. McAndrew was subbed. And I think what would have been Hickey, right? Yep, Hickey, 25 hitouts. Whatever it may be. Pitney had 33 hitouts on that night. Now, Pitney is not really a scoring ruckman, but he obviously dominated the hitouts in that game. And the week before, what are we looking at? They played North. Goldie had 111 and 45 hitouts. Even Coleman Jones had 8 hitouts and hit 100 in that game. And Hickey went... Wow. Oh, I didn't even have Hickey then. So there's a potential that Hickey can be restrictive because he has been in the past. But is he going to be this week? I'm not sure. I don't mind the Friday night VC. Marshall's one that could do that. I don't like Bont this week with that hyperextension. A little bit risky for me. I don't love that idea. Definitely could go Neil in this situation. VC Neil. He's got the 145 game there. Adelaide have West Coast at Adelaide Oval. That should be a really good one for either Laird or Dawson. Not sure which way they go with that one, but either one of those guys could go big. And then we've got Freo Richmond. I don't have anyone that would really be in that game. worth it, in my opinion. North GWS. No, I don't have anyone that would be worth it there. Merritt versus Carlton. Nah. And then the obviously the King's birthday game on the Monday. Dacos is an option there. Melbourne definitely won't take him from the back, but it's one of the harder games that they've had in a few weeks. 30 touches and 3 goals, Dacos, for 123. Surely that's worth more than that. So Dacos is an option there. Don't mind that. But realistically, I do believe that the VC Neil you could also go VC Dunks, but I think Dunks goes the Nash route, which leaves Neil open to go crazy. And so I think I want to go in the VC on Neil this week. And then captain, I think I might just go Laird. Laird back at Adelaide Oval. Captain. And what does that do to my... so pretty much the same. What are they projected? Laird only projected 113, Neil 114. So yeah, I think these projections are somewhat off. See, Marshall's projected 148 against Sydney. I know that they've bled from Rucks this year, but yeah, no, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. So I think that 2100 should be achievable quite easily. But yeah, 2200 will be very difficult to do, especially in a best 18 round. But I think that I'm fielding 18 premiums, I believe. Yeah, because I've got 20. So, and here's the other thing. So yes, made 3 trades. However, now that I've considered Briggs a premium, what I've actually done is I've upgraded the defense. So I've actually upgraded, and again, I consider Keays a premium. So I've made an upgrade with these 3 trades, but also sideways Gawn, Sheasel, and Zeeble in this. So now all I need is, obviously Stewart comes back, 6 defenders. 4 will become decam. So that will be via Weddle. So Weddle out, decam in here. And then 1 more upgrade, is it? No, I think that's me done. Got Rao here. Yeah. So I only need the 1 more upgrade, which is the 2 more trades. And I'm done. So then it's, okay, what do I do with the extra? Now, there is a chance. So if I work this out, so I think Weddle gets to 340k. Ford gets to 240k. And I believe that Cameron will probably be around 470. So he needs 230. So unfortunately, I think that Weddle down to Uisland only gets me like 5 to 10k to make that trade happen. So I'll get like 112k and then an option for Wines. But yeah, I don't know if I can go Steele over Neil. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. That's probably my biggest thing this week, is if that's going to be a thing. Am I doing the right thing with Gawn and Briggs? Is that an option? Especially considering I'm looking at getting it Gawn here. At DCAM here. So I do want that ruck cover. So that will happen at F6. That is going to be my upgrade next week. Next week? No, probably Weddle to Oisland next week if he comes in. And then forward up to DCAM the following week on his bye after, obviously, DCAM's had his bye. And then we evaluate. Now, of course, what am I left with? I'm left with 5 trades with 1 premium to go. So that will leave me with 3 trades left, which is low. And I know that. And then using another 1 for Wines is another trade, which leaves me with 2. I know how low a trades I am. But I'm really... This is my cross my finger, throw balls to the wall. I'm trying to get top 100, and I need to differentiate my team to be able to do that. And so that's what I'm looking at, is that I want to be able to differentiate my squad. And this is the best way I know how. 3 trades I think is doable. I think that's probably the minimum you probably do need. Maybe it's that case, leave Wines for a few weeks. If I'm getting killed, throw the money on and try and upgrade him to a different person. But yeah, I don't want to be left with less than 3 trades. I think 4 to 5 is probably more ideal. Anyway, thank you for listening. Sorry about the absolute longevity of this podcast. 54. Wow, that's going to be huge. I do hope that you guys are having an amazing time. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.